Commander Olivia Wright stared at the ancient tablet through the protective glass case. The soft blue lights of the research lab cast an eerie glow on the stone surface, making the carved symbols seem almost alive. She had spent 3 months studying these markings, and with each passing day, her worry grew. "Commander, we've finished the new translations," said Dr. Alan Peters as he entered the lab. His tired eyes and rumpled uniform showed he hadn't slept much in the past few days. Olivia nodded without looking away from the tablet. "And?" "It's the same warning we found in the ruins on Mars. The same boundary description. The same threat." Alan placed a datapad next to her. "This makes 7 different ancient civilizations that warned about the Cerberus system. 7 cultures that never had contact with each other, all telling us to stay away from the same exact region of space. The tablet had been found buried deep under the ice of Europa. It wasn't supposed to be there. Humans had never reached Jupiter's moon until the 22nd century. Yet the tablet was at least 5,000 years old, with symbols matching those found in ancient Sumerian texts. The Alliance Council meets tomorrow to decide on the Defiant's mission." "Bath," Olivia said. "We need to make them understand." Alan laughed without humor. "You mean make Admiral Summers understand? The others just follow his lead." Olivia finally looked up from the tablet. "Then we make a case he can't ignore." The next morning, Olivia stood before the United Earth Alliance Council in their circular chamber. 12 stern faces watched her from their elevated seats. Admiral Greg Summers sat in the center, his gray hair cropped short and his face set in its usual frown. "Commander Wright, Dr. Peters," Admiral Summers said, "you requested this emergency session to discuss the USS Defiant's planned exploration of the Cerberus system. My understanding is that the Defiant is ready for launch in 3 days. Why should we delay humanity's most ambitious mission to date?" Olivia stepped forward and activated the holographic display in the center of the chamber. Ancient symbols from different Earth cultures appeared in the air, slowly rotating. "Council members, these symbols were found across Earth and Mars, dating back thousands of years. They all describe the same thing: a boundary in space that must not be crossed." She pointed to specific markings. These referred to beings they called void dwellers who exist beyond that boundary, specifically in what we now call the Cerberus system. Dr. Peters joined her. "We've found these warnings in Sumerian, ancient Egyptian, Mayan, and early Chinese texts. We discovered the same symbols in the underground ruins on Mars and most recently on Europa. All warn about the same region of space." Admiral Summers leaned forward. "And you believe these primitive superstitions should dictate our exploration plans?" "With respect, Admiral," Olivia replied, "when 7 ancient cultures who never communicated with each other all warn about the same specific danger, we should at least consider the possibility they knew something we don't." Council member Diane Kelly spoke up. "Commander, are you suggesting that ancient humans had knowledge of star systems thousands of light years away? Systems we only discovered with our advanced telescopes?" "I'm suggesting," Olivia said carefully, "that something happened in our past that was so important, so dangerous, that multiple civilizations made sure to preserve the warning through thousands of years." Admiral Summers waved his hand dismissively. "Myths and legends. Every ancient culture created stories to explain what they didn't understand. The stars have always inspired the most fantastic tales." Dr. Peters pressed a button, and the holographic display changed to show a star map. "This is the Cerberus system. Notice the unusual gravitational readings forming almost a perfect sphere around the entire system. The ancient texts describe this exact formation as the veil, or the boundary. This isn't natural." The room fell silent as the council members studied the map. Olivia felt a small surge of hope. Maybe they were finally listening. "The USS Defiant is the most advanced warship humanity has ever created," Admiral Summers said, breaking the silence. "It was designed to face unknown threats and explore regions no human has ever seen. If these void dwellers do exist, wouldn't we want our best ship and crew to make first contact?" "Not if the contact could endanger humanity," Olivia countered. "The texts are specific. They don't just say stay away. They warn that crossing the boundary awakens them. that our presence draws their attention to us. You're talking about texts written by people who thought thunder was the gods fighting, said Council Member Frank Rivera with a chuckle that others joined. Dr. Peters stepped closer to the council table. The Europa tablet contains technical specifications that match modern quantum field measurements. Whoever carved that stone had advanced scientific knowledge. Admiral Summers stood up, signaling the end of his patience. Enough. The Defiant will proceed as planned. Commander Wright, your team has done interesting historical research, but we are looking toward humanity's future, not its past. The resources of the Cerberus system could power Earth for centuries. We cannot allow ancient ghost stories to hold back our progress. The vote was quick and predictable, 11-1 in favor of proceeding with the mission. Only Council Member Kelly had voted for delay and further study. As they left the chamber, Alan kicked a wall in frustration. They're fools, all of them. Olivia watched Admiral Summers speaking with reporters in the distance, smiling confidently for the cameras. They're not fools. They just can't imagine our ancestors knew something we don't. Their pride won't let them. So what do we do now? Alan asked. Olivia turned to him, her decision already made. Request a transfer to the Defiant. I already have. If they won't listen to our warnings, maybe we can help when they find out we were right. 3 days later, they stood in the observation lounge of Jupiter Station, watching the massive form of the USS Defiant floating in the shipyard. Nearly a mile long, its dark hull bristled with weapons and sensors. It was humanity's pride, the most powerful ship ever built. Beautiful, isn't she? Asked a voice behind them. Captain Damon Carter approached, his uniform crisp and his smile confident. I understand you'll both be joining us for the mission. Yes, Captain, Olivia replied. Thank you for approving our transfer requests. Admiral Summers told me about your concerns, Carter said. I respect your dedication, even if I don't share your worries. The Defiant was built to handle anything the universe can throw at us. As Carter walked away, Alan whispered, He has no idea what's waiting out there. Olivia watched the massive warship, its engines beginning to glow as final preparations were made. Neither do we, Alan. That's what scares me most. The next morning, the Defiant departed Jupiter Station with full ceremonial honors. As the quantum drive engaged and the massive ship disappeared into the void, Olivia stood on the bridge at her assigned station. She couldn't help but think of the ancient warning carved into the Europa tablet. They dwell beyond the veil, in darkness between stars. Disturb not their slumber, lest they follow you home. 2 weeks into the journey, the USS Defiant moved smoothly through space. The massive warship hummed with activity as over 300 crew members went about their duties. On the bridge, Captain Damon Carter sat in his command chair, reviewing mission reports. Captain, we're approaching the outer sensor range of the Cerberus system, said Lieutenant Sam Nichols from the tactical station. The young officer's fingers moved quickly over his control panel. Initial scans match our observatory. Data: 7 planets, unusual asteroid formations, and the gravitational anomaly surrounding the system. Carter nodded. Time to arrival at the boundary? Approximately 12 hours at current speed, sir. Commander Olivia Wright exchanged a quick glance with Dr. Alan Peters, who stood at the science station. They had spent the past 2 weeks trying to convince the captain and senior officers to approach with more caution, but had made little progress. Captain, may I suggest we reduce speed and send probe drones ahead? Olivia asked. Carter turned his chair toward her. Commander, we've discussed this. The Defiant is equipped with the best sensor array ever built. We'll detect any potential threats long before they become dangerous. Dr. Peters stepped forward, holding his datapad. Captain, the ancient texts specifically mention that the boundary itself is what triggers awareness of our presence. Crossing it is what wakes them. The captain sighed. Dr. Peters, I've allowed you considerable freedom on my ship because Admiral Summers said you're the best xenoarchaeologist in the fleet. But I need more than stories carved in stone by primitive cultures to change our mission parameters. They weren't primitive, Peters insisted. The mathematical formulas on the Europa tablet describe quantum field dynamics that we only discovered 50 years ago. Lieutenant Nichols looked up from his station, interested despite himself. Really? How is that possible? Before Peters could answer, Chief Engineer Isabel Ford's voice came over the comm system. Captain, you're going to want to see this. 20 minutes later, Carter, Wright, Peters, and Nichols stood in engineering, looking at a strange object on Isabel's workbench. It was a crystal about the size of a fist, glowing with a soft blue light. We found it inside the quantum drive housing during routine maintenance, Isabel explained. It's not on any ship schematics, and it's not made of any material I recognize. Doctor, Peters carefully picked up the crystal, his eyes wide. This matches the descriptions from the Sumerian texts. They called it the eye that sees between worlds. Are you saying someone put this on my ship based on your ancient texts? Carter asked, his voice hard with anger. No, Peter said. I'm saying it was always meant to be here. The ship's design itself matches diagrams from multiple ancient sources. What if our engineers were guided to recreate something from humanity's forgotten past? Captain Carter took the crystal from Peters and handed it to Isabel. Run every test you can. I want to know what this is and how it got on my ship. As they left engineering, Carter pulled Olivia aside. Commander, I need you to be straight with me. Do you really believe these myths? Olivia chose her words carefully. Captain, I believe that patterns across multiple ancient cultures that accurately describe a star system thousands of light years away can't be dismissed as coincidence. Something happened in our past. Something important enough that our ancestors made sure we wouldn't forget. Before Carter could respond, the ship's alarm sounded. Captain, to the bridge, came Lieutenant Nichols's urgent voice over the comms. When they arrived on the bridge, Nichols was standing at his tactical station, his face pale. Sir, long-range sensors detected something at the boundary of the Cerberus system. For a moment, it looked like hundreds of ships, then they vanished. Show me, Carter ordered. The main screen displayed the sensor readings. For 3 seconds, multiple objects had appeared at different points along the spherical boundary, then disappeared. Could be sensor ghosts, Carter said. This far out, even our systems can get readings wrong. Or it could be what the texts described as the Watchers at the Veil, Peters added quietly. Science Officer Ellie Martinez spoke up from her station. Captain, I've analyzed the sensor data. Whatever those objects were, they emitted energy patterns unlike anything in our database. Carter sat in his command chair thinking. After a long moment, he turned to Olivia. Commander Wright, what would you suggest we do? Olivia felt all eyes on the bridge turn to her. Stop before we reach the boundary. Send unmanned probes through. First, monitor what happens. If nothing unusual occurs, then we proceed with caution. And if something does happen to the probes? Carter asked. Then we have valuable information without risking the ship and crew, she replied. Carter nodded. Slowly. Lieutenant Nichols, prepare 3 probe drones for launch. Dr. Martinez, I want you to program them to collect as much data as possible about that boundary. Commander Wright, you and Dr. Peters prepare a detailed briefing on exactly what your ancient texts say we should expect. As the bridge crew moved to follow orders, Olivia felt a mix of relief and dread. They were finally taking the warning seriously, but they were still moving toward the boundary. 6 hours later, the Defiant hung in space, just beyond the calculated edge of the Cerberus system's strange gravitational anomaly. On the bridge, they watched as the first probe crossed the invisible line. For 30 seconds, nothing happened. The probe transmitted normal readings as it moved deeper into the system. See? Nothing to... Captain Carter's words were cut short as the probe's signal suddenly flooded with data. Energy spike, shouted Lieutenant Nichols. Something's happening to the probe. On the screen, they watched as the small drone was surrounded by swirling darkness that seemed to come from nowhere. The probe's lights flickered and died. Then it exploded in a flash of light. Seconds later, the same darkness appeared around the second and third probes. Both were destroyed in the same way. Full reverse. Get us out of here, Carter ordered. As the Defiant's engines engaged, a wave of darkness spread out from where the probes had been destroyed. It moved faster than seemed possible, racing toward the ship. It will reach us in 10 seconds, Nichols called out, his voice steady despite the fear in his eyes. Dr. Peters grabbed his data pad and quickly pulled up an image. The crystal. The texts say it creates a barrier. Carter hit the comm button. Engineering. Ford. Take that crystal. We found and put it in contact with the main power core. Captain, that could cause a... Isabel began. Do it now, Carter shouted. The darkness reached the ship just as Isabel's voice came back. Crystal in place. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ship shuddered as the darkness surrounded it. Warning lights flashed across every control panel. The main lights flickered and died, leaving only the red emergency lighting. In the sudden silence, as the ship's systems shut down one by one, Dr. Peters whispered, "They know we're here now." Slowly, the crystal in engineering began to glow brighter. A blue light spread through the ship's systems, pushing back the darkness outside. One by one, systems came back online. What just happened? Carter asked, his voice quiet in the still bridge. The first contact, Olivia answered. And it's exactly what the ancient texts warned would happen if we crossed the boundary. The Void Dwellers know we're here now. The blue glow from the crystal spread through the ship's systems like veins of light. On the bridge, the main screen flickered back to life, showing the darkness that still surrounded the Defiant. Status report, Captain Carter ordered, his voice steady despite what they had just experienced. Lieutenant Nichols checked his readings. Weapons systems online. Shields at 60% and holding. The darkness is still out there, but it's not getting through. Engineering, report. Carter called through the comm system. Isabel's voice came back, sounding shaken. Captain, the crystal has somehow connected itself to our power systems. It's creating some kind of energy field around the ship. I've never seen anything like it. Dr. Peters moved to the science station where Ellie Martinez was analyzing data. The crystal is doing exactly what the ancient texts described. It's creating a barrier the Void Dwellers can't cross. Olivia looked at the swirling darkness on the screen. Those aren't ships out there, they're entities. Whatever they are, we need to get out of here, Carter said. Ford, can we use the quantum drive? There was a pause before Isabel answered. Not safely, Captain. The crystal is integrated with all ship systems now. Engaging the quantum drive could disrupt its protection. We'd be exposed again. So we're trapped, Carter said, more to himself than to the crew. Dr. Peters looked up from the science station. Not trapped, Captain. Protected. But we need to understand what we're dealing with. Carter nodded. Dr. Martinez, analyze everything we have on these entities. I want to know what they are and how to fight them if necessary. Yes, Captain, Ellie replied, already working on her console. Carter turned to Olivia. Commander Wright, work with Dr. Peters. Go through all the ancient texts again. Find anything that tells us how to get out of this situation. For the next few hours, the Defiant hung suspended in space, surrounded by the swirling darkness, but protected by the blue glow of the crystal's energy. The crew worked frantically to understand what was happening. In the ship's library, Olivia and Alan pored over translations of the ancient texts, searching for answers. Here, Alan said, pointing to his screen. This passage from the Mars ruins. It says the eye sees between worlds and guards the path, but when awakened, the dwellers will not rest until they feed. Feed on what? Olivia asked, though she feared she already knew the answer. Life, Alan replied grimly. They feed on life, energy. On the science deck, Ellie Martinez made a disturbing discovery. Captain, I've detected unusual energy patterns throughout the ship, she reported over the comm. They match the patterns we recorded just before the probes were destroyed. Meaning? What? Carter asked. Meaning they're trying to get in, Ellie said. The crystal is keeping them out for now, but they're searching for weak points. As if to confirm her words, the lights flickered in Section C of Deck 12. Security cameras showed the blue protective glow fading in that area. Security Team 2. Deck 12, Section C, Carter ordered. Full protective gear. Lieutenant Paul Rivera led the security team to the affected area. They moved carefully down the corridor, weapons ready. The blue light was definitely weaker here, flickering like a dying bulb. "I don't see anything," one of the security officers said, sweeping his light across the corridor. Then the temperature dropped suddenly. Their breath became visible in the air. The blue light flickered one last time and went out. "Fall back," Rivera shouted, but it was too late. The darkness seeped through the wall like black smoke. It surrounded one of the security officers before he could move. The man screamed as the darkness enveloped him, his body seizing up. When the darkness pulled back, he collapsed to the floor, his skin gray and cold. "Man down. We need medical." Rivera's call was cut short as the darkness surged toward the rest of the team. On the bridge, they heard the security team's screams over the comm. "Seal off Deck 12, Carter ordered. "Ford, can you boost the crystal's power to that section?" "I'm trying, Captain," Isabel replied. "But it's like the crystal has its own agenda. It's directing power to specific systems, and I can't override it." Dr. Peters looked up from his datapad. "Captain, according to the texts, the crystal responds to thought patterns. It's not just a power source, it's semi-sentient." "You're saying it's alive?" Carter asked incredulously. "Not alive like we are," Peters explained, "but aware. It was created to protect humans, but it needs someone to guide it." Olivia stepped forward. "Captain, I think I know what to do. The Europa tablet mentioned a connection ritual." Carter hesitated only briefly. "Do it," he said. Olivia and Peters hurried to engineering, where the crystal floated above a containment field, pulsing with blue light. Following Peters' instructions, Olivia placed her hands on either side of the field, not quite touching the crystal. "Focus your thoughts on protection," Peters told her. "Imagine the blue light spreading throughout the ship, sealing every gap." Olivia closed her eyes and concentrated. At first, nothing happened. Then the crystal's glow intensified, and Olivia felt a strange sensation, like cold water flowing up her arms and into her mind. In her mind's eye, she could suddenly see the entire ship. She could see the dark entities swarming around the outside. She could see where they had breached on Deck 12, and she could see them spreading. Without knowing exactly how she did it, Olivia directed the crystal's energy toward the breach. The blue light surged through the ship's systems, flooding Deck 12 with radiance. The darkness retreated, hissing like steam. Back on the bridge, Carter watched as the ship's diagram showed the protective field strengthening throughout the vessel. "Whatever you're doing, Commander, it's working," he said over the comm. Olivia could hear him but couldn't respond. Her mind was filled with images from the crystal. She saw Earth as it was thousands of years ago. She saw beings of light fighting against the darkness. She saw the crystals being created and hidden throughout the solar system. She saw humanity being tasked as guardians of the boundary. As the last of the entities were pushed out of the ship, Olivia gasped and released her connection to the crystal. She nearly collapsed, but Peters caught her. "I saw," she whispered. "I saw everything. We were wrong, Alan. The ancient humans didn't just know about these entities. They fought them." Back on the bridge, a shaken Olivia reported what she had seen. "Captain, we weren't the first to encounter these beings. Our ancestors fought a war against them thousands of years ago. The crystals were created by someone else. Allies who helped humanity push the Void Dwellers back beyond the boundary, and now we've woken them up again," Carter said grimly. "There's more," Olivia continued. "The Defiant wasn't an accident. Its design, the crystal's placement, it was all guided. We've been prepared for this moment for thousands of years, but we forgot our purpose." "Our purpose?" Carter asked. "To finish what our ancestors started," Olivia replied. "To close the breach between worlds permanently." Captain Carter called an emergency meeting in the ship's conference room. Around the table sat his senior officers, Commander Olivia Wright, Lieutenant Sam Nichols, Chief Engineer Isabel Ford, and Science Officer Ellie Martinez. Dr. Alan Peters was there too, his datapad filled with translations of the ancient texts. "We've lost 8 crew members," Carter said, his voice heavy. "The medical team says they were drained somehow." No physical wounds, but their bodies were cold, like all heat and energy had been pulled out of them. The Void Dwellers feed on life energy, Peters explained. That's consistent across all the ancient texts. How do we fight them? Nichols asked, his hand resting on his weapon as if it could provide some comfort. Regular weapons don't seem to affect them. Ellie Martinez shook her head. They're not fully in our dimension. That's why they can pass through physical barriers. They exist partly in what the ancients called the void between worlds. The crystal is our only defense, Isabel added. It creates an energy field they can't cross, but I can't explain how it works. It's beyond our technology. All eyes turned to Olivia. Since connecting with the crystal, she had been quiet, processing the flood of information that had poured into her mind. Commander? Carter prompted. You said you saw how to close the breach permanently. Olivia nodded slowly. The crystal showed me. Deep in the Cerberus system, on the second planet, there's a structure built by the Allies who helped humanity in the ancient war. It's a seal, designed to close the passage between our dimension and theirs. Why didn't our ancestors activate it before? Carter asked. They tried, Olivia replied. But the Void Dwellers attacked before they could complete the ritual. They managed to push the entities back and create the boundary, but they couldn't seal it completely. And now we're supposed to finish the job? Nichols asked skeptically. Yes, Peters said, looking up from his datapad. The Defiant's design matches the specifications needed to activate the seal. This ship was built for this purpose, whether the designers knew it or not. You're saying our ship is what? Some kind of key? Isabel asked. Exactly, Olivia confirmed. The crystal is just one component. The Defiant itself, with its specific configuration and power systems, is designed to connect with the structure on the second planet. Carter stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the darkness still swirled around the ship, kept at bay by the blue glow of the crystal's protection. So our options are to turn back, hoping they don't follow us home, or push deeper into the system to activate this ancient seal, he summarized. If we turn back, they will follow, Peters warned. The ancient texts are clear about that. Once awakened, they will hunt until they feed or are banished. And if they followed us back to Earth? Carter asked. The room fell silent as everyone considered the implications. Billions of lives at risk. Humanity facing an enemy it couldn't fight with conventional weapons. We need to reach that second planet, Carter decided. Ford, can we move the ship without dropping the crystal's protection? Isabel nodded. Yes, Captain. The conventional drive still works. It will be slow, but we can move. Martinez, plot. A course to the second planet, Carter ordered. Nichols, I want continuous scanning for any changes in the entity's behavior. As the meeting ended, Olivia stayed behind with Peters. There's something I didn't tell them, she admitted quietly. Something the crystal showed me. Peters waited, his expression concerned. Activating the seal requires a sacrifice, Olivia continued. A human consciousness has to guide the energy of the crystal into the seal structure. That person won't survive the process. Peters closed his eyes briefly. Are you sure? Yes. I saw it happening. That's why our ancestors couldn't complete it. They weren't willing to make that sacrifice. Will you tell the captain? Peters asked. Olivia shook her head. Not yet. Let's see if we can find another way. Over the next 24 hours, the Defiant moved slowly deeper into the Cerberus system. The darkness followed, constantly testing the ship's defenses. Twice more they breached the hull, claiming 3 more lives before Olivia could direct the crystal's energy to seal the gaps. In her quarters, Olivia studied the images the crystal had placed in her mind. The structure on the second planet was massive, built into the side of a mountain. At its center was a chamber designed to channel energy across dimensions. There was a knock at her door. Enter, she called. Captain Carter stepped in, looking tired. We'll reach the planet in 6 hours. I need to know if there's anything else about this mission you haven't told me. Olivia met his gaze. Why do you ask? Because every time you connect with that crystal, You look like you're carrying a heavier burden, Carter replied. And because I need to know what we're facing. After a long moment, Olivia nodded. Activating the seal requires a sacrifice. Someone has to channel the crystal's energy physically into the seal. That person won't survive. Carter was silent, processing this information. And you volunteered yourself for this mission? The crystal chose me, Olivia said simply. I can see the structure, how it works. I know what needs to be done. There has to be another way, Carter insisted. If there is, we have 6 hours to find it, Olivia replied. When Carter left, Olivia returned to her study of the ancient knowledge. There had to be something she was missing, some detail that might save her life while still completing the mission. The ship drew closer to the second planet. The attacks intensified. The Void Dwellers seemed to sense what was happening. They gathered in greater numbers, their darkness becoming more solid, more determined. On the bridge, alarm klaxons sounded as a new threat appeared on their sensors. Captain, we have a problem, Nichols reported. The entities are gathering ahead of us, forming some kind of barrier between us and the planet. On the main screen they could see it, a wall of swirling darkness, thicker and more solid than anything they had encountered before. Can we go around it? Carter asked. No, sir. It extends in all directions as far as our sensors can detect. Olivia arrived on the bridge and immediately understood what was happening. They know what we're trying to do. They're blocking our path to the seal. Can the crystal get us through? Carter asked her. Olivia closed her eyes, connecting briefly with the crystal's awareness. Yes, but it will take all of its power. We'll be vulnerable until we reach the planet's surface. Carter looked at his senior officers, each of whom nodded their agreement. They had come too far to turn back now. Nichols, arm all weapons, Carter ordered. They may not be effective, but let's give them something to think about. Ford, divert all non-essential power to shields and the crystal. Martinez, plot the most direct course through that barrier. As the Defiant moved forward, Olivia headed to engineering. She placed her hands on either side of the crystal's containment field and focused her mind. Guide us through, she whispered to the ancient artifact. Show us the way. The crystal flared brightly, its blue light intensifying until it was painful to look at directly. The energy field around the ship strengthened, forming a sharp point at the bow, like the tip of a spear. On the bridge, Carter watched as they approached the wall of darkness. Brace for impact, he ordered, his voice calm despite the fear they all felt. The Defiant struck the barrier of darkness, and for a moment, it seemed as if they would be stopped. Then the crystal's energy surged forward, cutting through the darkness like a knife. They were going through, they were going to make it. But the Void Dwellers hadn't given up. As the ship pushed through, the darkness flowed around them, seeking any weakness in their defenses. The Defiant burst through the wall of darkness, its hull glowing blue with the crystal's energy. Alarms blared throughout the ship as systems failed under the strain. In engineering, the crystal pulsed frantically as Olivia directed its power. We're through, Nichols called out on the bridge. But shields are down to 20%. Damage reports coming in from all decks, Ellie Martinez added. Hull breaches on decks 5 and 9. Captain Carter gripped the arms of his command chair. Seal those sections. Ford, status of the crystal? It's holding, Captain, Isabel replied from engineering. But the energy output is dropping. We won't survive another encounter like that. We won't need to, Carter said firmly. Martinez, how long until we reach the planet's surface? 17 minutes at current speed, Ellie answered. I've located a large structure on the northern continent that matches Commander Wright's description. The ship shuddered as darkness gathered behind them. The Void Dwellers were regrouping, preparing for another attack. They're following us, Nichols reported. Gaining quickly. Carter opened a ship-wide channel. All hands, prepare for emergency. Landing. This is what we came for, people. Let's finish this mission. In engineering, Olivia felt the crystal's energy changing, becoming more focused. It was preparing for its final purpose. Dr. Peters stood nearby, watching with a mixture of awe and sadness. Is there really no other way? He asked quietly. Olivia shook her head. I've searched through everything the crystal showed me. The seal, requires a living consciousness to guide the energy properly. It has to be me. Because you're connected to it now. Peters understood. Yes. Olivia looked at the glowing crystal. It's strange. I'm scared, but also ready. Like I've been preparing for this my whole life without knowing it. The ship entered the planet's atmosphere, shaking violently as it descended. Behind them, the darkness stretched across the sky like a storm cloud. They're still coming, Peters said, looking at a nearby monitor. They know what we're doing, Olivia replied. They'll throw everything they have at us to stop the seal from activating. The Defiant broke through the cloud layer, revealing a landscape of rust-colored mountains beneath them. Ahead, built into the largest peak, was an enormous structure with spiraling towers and a central dome. There it is, Olivia whispered. Exactly as I saw it. Captain Carter's voice came over the comm. Commander Wright, we're approaching the structure. What's our next move? Land as close to the central dome as possible, Olivia instructed. I need to bring the crystal inside. The ship descended toward a wide plateau in front of the structure. As it touched down, the ground trembled slightly, as if responding to their presence. Power down all systems except life support, Carter ordered as they landed. Nichols, Martinez, you're with me and Commander Wright. Ford, keep that crystal stable until we transfer it. With careful handling, they moved the crystal from engineering to the ship's exit ramp. It floated in its containment field, pulsing with blue light. Around them, the darkness in the sky grew thicker, blotting out the sun. We need to hurry, Olivia said, feeling the crystal's urgency. As they stepped outside, the air felt strange, too thin, yet somehow heavy with energy. The massive structure before them was unlike anything they had seen before. It was built of a dark metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, with symbols etched into every surface. It's ancient, Peters breathed, but not human. This was built by the Allies the text mentioned. They moved quickly toward the entrance, a tall archway that led into darkness. As they approached, lights began to activate inside, as if the structure was waking up after a long sleep. It's responding to the crystal, Olivia explained. It recognizes what we've brought. Behind them, the darkness in the sky began to descend, reaching toward them like grasping fingers. They're coming, Nichols warned, his weapon raised uselessly against the approaching threat. Inside, now, Carter ordered. They rushed through the archway and into a long corridor. As they moved deeper into the structure, more lights activated, guiding their way. The corridor opened into a vast chamber with a central platform. Above the platform, the ceiling opened to the sky where the darkness now swirled angrily. This is it, Olivia said. The seal chamber. She guided the crystal's containment field to the platform. As it settled into place, the symbols on the walls began to glow with the same blue light. What happens now? Carter asked. Before Olivia could answer, darkness poured in through the opening in the ceiling. It swirled around the chamber, searching for a way to stop them. Captain, get everyone back to the ship, Olivia ordered. I need to complete the ritual alone. We're not leaving you, Carter insisted. You have to, Olivia replied firmly. When the seal activates, it will create a shock wave that will destroy anything caught in this chamber. The ship will be protected. If you return now. Carter hesitated, then nodded slowly. It's been an honor serving with you, Commander. Likewise, Captain. Olivia smiled briefly. Now go. Make sure our sacrifice isn't wasted. As the others reluctantly retreated, Peters paused at the chamber entrance. The texts say the Allies promised to return one day, he told her. Perhaps they'll find a way to bring you back too. Perhaps, Olivia said, though she didn't believe. Either way, humanity will be safe, that's what matters. After they left, Olivia turned to face the crystal. The darkness was gathering more thickly now, sensing what was about to happen. She placed her hands directly on the crystal, feeling its cold fire flow into her body. Show me the way, she whispered. In her mind, she saw the sequence needed to activate the seal. With deliberate movements, she pressed symbols on the platform in front of her. Each touch sent pulses of energy through the chamber, driving back the darkness momentarily. When she pressed the final symbol, the crystal rose from its containment field, hovering before her. She knew what came next. She had to take the crystal into herself, becoming the conduit for its power. Olivia reached out and grasped the crystal with both hands. Pain shot through her body as the crystal's energy poured into her. She screamed but didn't let go. Blue light spread across her skin, filling her veins, transforming her from within. The darkness attacked frantically now, sensing the danger. It swirled around her like a tornado, trying to stop what had begun. But it was too late. With the last of her strength, Olivia raised her arms toward the opening in the ceiling. Blue energy exploded from her body, shooting upward into the heart of the darkness. The Void Dwellers shrieked, a sound that existed beyond normal hearing yet filled the minds of everyone nearby. The energy beam widened, pushing the darkness back. A shockwave spread outward from the chamber, racing across the planet's surface and into space. On the Defiant, Carter and the others watched as blue light engulfed the entire Cerberus system. The darkness was forced back, pushed through an invisible boundary that sealed behind it. The Void Dwellers were gone. The breach was closed. Humanity was safe. But Olivia Wright was gone too. Her consciousness merged with the ancient seal that would stand guard for eternity. "She saved us all," Peters said quietly. "Yes," Carter agreed. "And we'll make sure Earth knows what happened here. The warnings won't be forgotten again." As the Defiant prepared to return home, carrying the truth about humanity's ancient guardianship, a small blue light appeared on the bridge. It hovered briefly before the startled crew, then disappeared. But in that moment, they all heard Olivia's voice in their minds. "The seals are restored. The Watchers stand ready. We will not forget again."